Congratulations on the film, first of all. I really loved the innocence. I'm really excited. Oh my God, yeah. And I loved the music. The music is really original. I think it's really exciting that the soundtrack is coming out. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, I wanna have a whole sidebar feature about that.
When I read the script, I was like, okay, so this is how you write scripts, you know? It's so much deeper than most genre films. A lot of stuff I've done before sound quite a bit like John Williams' film music, you know? And we really didn't want that in this film at all. We don't want it to sound like film music in the traditional sense, and not like, you know, not like American horror film. There's not a lot of films like this in existence, right? It's pretty unique. So there was like a clean slate of what to do.
Had the script to work with. You hadn't seen
first,
the film.
Yeah, but then I don't think I wrote anything before shooting, because like the post schedule was quite relaxed, which is not always the case. I think I started doing stuff when I just saw like the very rough cut, which was like 3 hours, you know, it's always like super long. But the typical way of doing scores would be that you write scores with samples, and then once they're okayed, you go and record everything for real and then mix it, right? So I call that, it's just my personal term, I call that top to bottom approach, because you just sort of go linearly through it. But here I used what I call bottom up approach, meaning that I like gather all the sound material first, and then I built the score from that.
Ska jag visa nå?
Okej.
Hvem er det du snakker med?
Jeg snakker med noen som ikke er her.
Hold den opp.
So I like blew most of the budget right up front, doing like a string session recording, and just recorded all sorts of like textures and sounds and material. And then I made that into like a small personal library for like a bespoke library for this project, and built most of the score out of that. There was a risk, because then if Eskil would have been like, no, I want something totally different, then I would have been in deep shit, because I used a lot of money to do that. But I just sort of, I trusted my gut, you know, and I felt that there was much more possibility of doing it together, so that my music would influence the edit, and the editor would have the possibility to ask stuff from me. And editors tend to love this, because they rarely have a chance to do that. Sometimes composers are brought into the project like way too late from my perspective, meaning that they use all kinds of music there, and then they sort of get stuck with that music, and you have to make that music again, but it can't be the same because it's illegal and whatever. So I sort of made a deal that they would not use anything else in the edit than my music. And I made like shitloads of it. I think like 5 hours of stuff for them to play around with, like over 100 demos, with the idea that I just sort of start with quantity and then hone in on quality as the best ones start to sort of stand out. So after they did all that, I just sort of got the timeline and everything they had done, and then started to work on it again from the beginning, sort of based on how they used my demos, but building on them more and developing them further. That was the process.
So in addition to strings, the score uses some unconventional instruments. Eskil mentioned the gong in particular.
Yeah, there's a rack of gongs. So there's this guy in Finland who's like an experimental percussionist and jazz drummer, but he's gone more left field these days. So I had like a recording day with them first I sampled the whole rack of gongs and made them into an instrument I can play myself at the studio. And then I just had him do stuff with the gongs, you know, just gathering raw material. And we improvised some. So even in the film, there's some stuff of me actually playing the piano, which is like improvised together things. And some parts, then you just take a good sounding bit and make that into part of the score. I use tapes, like all physical magnetic tapes, because that felt to me that like if you run stuff through like you record something on tape and then you record it back like half speed or even quarter speed, it gives it a sort of like weird, like pretty whimsical vibe. It alters the mood of pretty much anything. And I sort of felt, I started thinking about this idea that I would start with pure sounds like the kids are pure sort of to begin with. And then I like corrupt the sounds somehow that they become, you know, tainted and weird as we get, you know, corrupt as we grow older and the purity of childhood is lost. So there's a lot of like corrupted sounds in that way, you know, just recording something really well, like acoustic instruments, and then mangling with it and sort of making it shittier in a good way. Was sort of became like a concept of the sound design. The only purpose of the score is to make the film better. Now, if somebody wants to listen to the music apart from the film, that's an added bonus, yeah, but not the goal, you know, especially in music like this, which is not supposed to have like hummable melodies and nice chords. This is not that kind of music at all. Maybe I'll, you know, burn some bridges by saying this, but I'll say it fucking anyway, is that I feel that I've always often quite disappointed with horror scores, because I feel that in that field, when you would have the arsenal of the entire, you know, classical music of the 21st century at your disposal, when you can go like as dissonant and as weird, then still horror music tends to be the most cliched of film music genres to me. Sometimes if you don't have music, it can be pretty fucking horrifying, you know? I mean, violence is like it's at most brutal when it's not made entertaining with music. I want score music to make like structural sense. A good score makes like the whole film into like a coherent unity, right? So that there's like a similar sound unique to that project, which carries through the entire thing. Well, I'm really hoping that this film will still be able to stand out, and maybe it's not the kind of film that will sort of be quickly and then be forgotten. I don't think it's like a seasonal thing. This will probably be remembered for quite some time, hopefully, you know.
Hva var det som skjedde egentlig?
Vi lekte bare litt.